don't mind me. It's the Heavy Hole Podcast, and I'm Big Will, a.k.a. Uncle Buck. But more importantly, my guest co-host, Brian from Baby Chico Records. Brian, say hi to the people. How you doing?
Hello to the people. How you guys doing?
Welcome back.
Yeah, thanks for having me, dude. Always a fun time.
And we found, buried in a pile of old photocopied zines and tapes, John from Syrup Head Rec. John, welcome back.
Hey, how y'all doing? It's good to be here.
John, old friend John, man. No, seriously, we appreciate you making the time, man. We know you're a busy guy, and you've got a lot going on behind the scenes that we're going to talk about in a few minutes. But first, let's just refresh people's memory. You guys have been on a few times in the past, individually. John, you were one of the very first guests years ago when we did this in a studio, and we weren't all just like in the Matrix here on the internet. So if people want to go back and learn your history and about all the interesting crafty tapes and releases you've made over the years and that sort of thing, we have that whole episode in the vault. And you guys have also come on to promote the Barely Breathing event, because I know John doesn't like the word fest.
Because we don't call it fest. It's Barely Breathing 4.
Yeah, Barely Breathing 4. It's an event. It's a function, as the kids say.
There you go. 4 years running, we haven't slowed down yet. So
that's right. And all kidding aside, it's beautiful to have this type of thing on Long Island. It is very, it is the most extreme, independent, and dare I say, fringe of underground gore grind, grindcore, power violence, noise, hardcore, death metal, whatever you want, all that sort of stuff at Mr. Beery's there. I want to talk about that. Last time we talked about it, you guys had not announced the full lineup. And there's also kind of a tour that we could talk about that ties into this. There's a lot going on. I'm going to let you guys take it away right now. Let's start with the Barely Breathing Fest. Who do you got headlining? Who have you announced in the last in the last month or two since you were last here? That sort of thing.
Yeah, I got the full lineup here, John, if you want me to take the reins on this one.
Yeah, go for it.
So the lineup has kind of changed a little bit since we initially announced all of it, but as of today, beautiful mid-July while we're recording this.
Facts.
Headlining, we have Needle Contaminated Pork, one man, brutal death metal, slam kind of stuff from Japan.
Yes.
Then we've got Sordo from California. California power violence noisecore legends. They're going to be doing 2 sets. They're going to be headlining Friday, and then they're going to be performing Saturday too. 2 different sets each time.
Remarkable.
Yep. And then we got Wound Man from where are they? Providence, Massachusetts. That general area, John, like New Hampshire.
Yeah, Massachusetts, but somewhere out at sea, because we've tried to book Wound Man every year since we started, but it just never worked out with Trevor's work schedule. So he's either going to be out in mid-Atlantic or be playing the show. We'll see.
Yeah, exactly. He might zoom in doing that set. If anyone caught Ixius at MDF, that's what they did with Brad. Then we got, I'm just going to run through the rest of these. We got Oklahoma Rider Truck, Negative Bias, Morguitar doing their first set ever. Friday's going to be hosted by The Rocker Show. So they're just going to be doing a shitload of stunts throughout the day on Friday.
What?
Then we got.
So the Rocker Show isn't a band?
No, it's just 2 dummies doing jackass kind of stunts,
more or less.
Interesting.
Yeah, love those guys.
Sorry to interrupt, Brian, but when we hosted the Rocker Show last year, I think Brian and I were both prepared to have the owner come up to us for Mr. Beery's because he was there. And we were ready to be told to get the fuck out and never come back again. He watched the whole Rocker Show set, and then afterwards he threw his arm on my shoulder. He goes, "You guys can do whatever you want anytime you come here."
That's beautiful. Yeah. That's Mr. Beery's, Long Island's home of power violence, grindcore, and everything noise related.
Absolutely. Yeah, I love those guys to death. All right, so where did I leave off of?
Yeah.
Rocker Show, Roach. What was that, John?
No, I was agreeing. Sorry, my bad.
No, it's all good, man. Then we got Roach from Worcester, Massachusetts. Some nice power violence. Big Will, we got you here with Reeking Aura.
No,
yes,
that's I
sir.
don't know if my lawyers want me talking. People don't want. It's not tie-in or nothing. You guys didn't pay. We don't do payola on here, man. Yeah, Reeking Aura. No, I'm truly flattered and honored to be at the event, man. I always look forward to this function.
Yeah, dude. Yeah, that new EP you guys did is fucking phenomenal. So I'm excited to hear some of that live.
Thank you, man. We will be performing those at least one of those songs live, man. I'll pay you later for saying that. Don't worry. Gotcha.
Just give me one of those gore grind tapes behind you, and then we'll call it even.
A lot of them are probably yours. You probably
exactly.
Put a bunch of them out.
So funny. All right, cool. Then we got Tentacles. We got Adam Rotella back again for year number 4 with Worm Clog Blisters.
Gross.
And
Liquefied Inside.
And Liquefied Insides. He's doing a versus set with Liquefied Insides battling against Viodre.
Yes.
Long Island noise legend. Then we got Female Autoerotic Asphyxiation, Enforcement Droid, Disposal Unit, Caesarean. We got Unmen, which I believe they were on the podcast recently, right, Will?
Yeah, we did. Unmen is an old friends of mine, old buddies of mine, I guess we'll say grind related band, man. They do their own thing. They used to play with Buckshot Facelift back in like the 2008, 2009. We rehashed all that stuff. I went down memory lane with those guys a few weeks ago on their whole own episode. That's right. And if I could, I just wanted to ruminate for a second on. You said liquefied incense. Liquefied incense. That's when Adam goes the blood incantation route and he does shrooms. Liquefied incense.
When he starts putting on patchouli oil.
Oh boy, man! No, I never Adam. Liquefied Insides versus Viodra set. That's really interesting because that's like two. I think I talked about this last time you were on, Brian, but that's like people don't know, two veteran kind of old school Long Island noise guys in their own right with their own lane, their own style. And I understand. Is it Brian from Viodra?
Yes, Brian
sir.
Gilroy.
Brian, yeah, I gotta get him on the show. Every time I see him. I believe he's collaborating with Adam with Worm Clog Blisters now. It's like a band. Adam opened it up.
Oh, no shit.
Adam opened up the
that's
books.
Awesome.
Yeah. So a lot of cool, because there's a lot of young artists on this fest. Younger than me, I should say. I'm 43, so when I say young, that's relative. But you guys are younger than me. This fest spans a lot of generation gaps, and to have those two guys there who have kind of like been doing the noise on Long Island thing for a long time, it's very special. So I just wanted to emphasize that.
Oh, absolutely. Yeah, I'll go as far as to say Brian's not only a Long Island noise legend. I think he's just a noise legend in his own right. The shit he does is like fucking phenomenal. So the fact that he's playing this at all, and the fact that I can consider him a friend and a collaborator, is like a huge honor.
Fair enough.
Yeah,
Fair enough.
I agree.
All right. So where did I lead it off? All right. So we got School of Americas. Then we got Mechanistic Butchery, which that was the episode I hosted last time. Then we got Negligible Wound. We got Aisle 19. We got 8, Fermented Mess, Purity Control, Gimp, Bacteria, Brown Piss, and Sato Cheesemo.
Oof.
And I will say that I've begged for a Fear Factory cover from somebody every year. Disposal Unit were the only band to come through. They promised me a Fear Factory cover. So now that it's out there in the ether, you got to make sure it happens.
You know, Fear Factory is kind of like a cover band now. It's just Dino and a bunch of dudes, right? Like,
right, exactly. Yeah, there's nobody, no Burton C. Bell, no Fear Factory.
I see they're on tour again, man. So you might get your wish and see a Fear Factory cover. I don't want to bust balls too, but yeah, like when I saw Cryptopsy play None So Vile with like all different guys except the drummer, I said it was like seeing like the world's premier Cryptopsy cover band. It was a good experience, you know.
Man, Florian's the only original member now.
Yeah, man. But before Cryptopsy hijacks yet another episode of Heavy Hole Podcast, they're not playing Barely Breathing yet.
Yeah,
I feel like Barely Breathing has to blow up a little bit more, and Cryptopsy has to fall on hard times a little bit more, and you guys will meet in the middle somewhere, man.
No, I'd say please leave us the fuck alone. Don't blow up anything. Just keep it for the freaks and weirdos. That's what we want to do.
Yeah, maybe we'll get Flo to play drums for Anal Birth one day, man. You can wish upon a star. Those blast beats. So
I mean, we've had a lot of firsts. I don't think that's outside of the realm of possibility.
Nah, man. But all right, man. Enough of my flight of fancy. This is taking place August 15th and August 16th. Are both days are at Beery's?
Both days
Yes,
at Beery's.
Both days at Beery's.
The 15th is a Friday, so that's like kind of a half day.
Got it.
Doors for that are at 6, but for the 16th, doors are at 12.
You can literally just knock out of work Friday afternoon and then wake up Sunday morning in the Beery's parking lot and barely remember but you'll be wearing a Gore Grind shirt. It'll be great.
Yeah.
No, please don't do that because we've had to mitigate those situations in the past. They're not fun.
That was
have a good time, come through, but don't be an asshole.
Yeah, I would. That was just a joke. I was not serious. Do not do that ever. If you got to crash somewhere, crash at John's house. Hit him up. That's speaking of hitting John up and John's hospitality. All right, so you got August 15th and 16th at Beery's Barely Breathing Fest. Let's do the fine print for people. How do you buy the tickets? What do the tickets cost? Can the kids go? What's going on?
So it's 18 plus. The
Fair.
tickets can be bought through Eventbrite,
Nice.
but Eventbrite charges an insane amount of money to make a custom URL. So if you just go to the Baby Chico Records Big Cartel, the first thing at the top is kind of like a Barely Breathing Tickets product thing. I price it at $9.99. I don't actually expect someone to buy it for $999. It's just so you can like very easily go to the proper link. Oh god, that's a good point. How much are tickets to this thing?
Ask
Tom, do you know offhand?
$800 at the door, only $600 beforehand.
Exactly. Yeah, funny story time while I pull up the actual prices for this shit. I price everything on my Bandcamp at $999. That's not because I expect people to fucking buy the shit for $999. I don't want to make money off of someone else's art. I make money off of the physicals. That's what I do as a fucking record label. And every time I release something and share it, there's some dork on Reddit being like, whoa, can you believe this guy's selling this music for $1,000? Like, no, dude. That's not what I'm doing. Like, I literally have, like, in big bold letters, don't buy this shit from me. Buy it from the artist with a link to their page.
Yep. And then
I've had that same conversation with people where I'm distroing a band who's playing, and I say, don't buy it from me, buy it from the band.
In the noise scene, you never know, man.
Exactly.
But
so I got the prices here. So it's $25 for the Friday day pass ahead of time. It's $30 for the $35 rather for the Saturday day pass ahead of time, and for the weekend pass it's $55 ahead of time.
Okay.
And those prices all go up day of.
They go up and up and up until Sunday morning where you got to pay to get out.
Oh yeah.
You're essentially paying us because you didn't buy tickets in time, so now we have to employ extra people.
The hustle never stops, man. Listen, all that sounds hot. One thing that sounds extra hot: needle contaminated pork. I got a little hungry when you talked about that. There's other events going on. This is part of a tour. This is a very rare event. What country is needle contaminated pork from?
He's from Japan.
From Japan, rare North American tour dates. We're going to talk about all that in just 1 minute because right now I'm going to stop everything because we're going to hit up Zach Fogle of Morguitar and Female Autoerotic Asphyxiation. I said that right? It's a tongue twister.
Yes, sir.
All right. We're going to get his take on things, talk about his other projects. It's going to get a little weird. It's going to get a little crazy, but buckle up. From the Heavy Hole Podcast, and I'm here with returning guest Zach Fogle, who you may know from his work in Morguitar, Shotgun Cock, Purge Liquids, or Infibulation lately. Forced Entry's another one. Zach's got a lot of projects going back. One of them you also may recognize him from is his first appearance on the Heavy Hole Podcast was about 3 years ago now. I can't believe it. With Maggot Vomit Afterbirth, who have since disbanded. But Zach, welcome back to the show.
Hey, thank you, Will. Thank you very much for having me back. Been really looking forward to this.
Yeah, man. Again, like I've been saying to a lot of return guests, I'm trying to cycle the return visits in along with the new guests this year because the podcast has been going for a while now. And like I always say, I can't believe how time flies. You've got a lot of stuff you've been working on. I was looking at Morgtar just dropped something new last month in June and earlier than in April that I want to talk about. You have a project called Purged Liquids, which actually the Gore Grinder YouTube channel had your full-length album. What was the name of the album?
Man, I wish I could. I'm so bad with pronouncing stuff. It's like anthropophagic necrofluidvore or something crazy like that.
Got it. Okay, you did good. You did good. You did good with your own album. But that was your full length in 2024 with Purged Liquids. We'll talk about all that stuff. You got a lot of projects going on, and you have a rare live appearance with two of your projects coming on at the Barely Breathing Fest this August 15th and 16th here on Long Island. We've been pumping the listeners with that, with Brian from Baby Chico Records and John from Syrup Head, and other bands. I want to talk about all that stuff. And since you've already been on the podcast, you already kind of gave us like the little condensed version of how you kind of grew up and got into some metal and stuff. Here's something. Rusty from Breathing Problems Productions, right?
Yes, sir.
He interviewed you several years ago, and I found that on YouTube. And I learned from that interview that you definitely grew up in a fairly conservative household and went to Christian school. And your dad thought it was important that you went to Christian school. It was actually a little bit later in life that you could kind of expose yourself to music and certain movies and stuff. That's correct?
Yes, sir.
Okay. I've talked with other guests. I went to Catholic school as a kid. I can kind of identify to a certain degree. My parents were fairly liberal with the art and the music and stuff, and let me listen to things. But nowadays, I just mentioned a few of your many projects: Prolific, Gore, Noise, Gore Grind, and all these types of projects. You have very explicit, at times shocking, lyrical and thematic matter going on with these projects. And I wanted to just kind of bluntly ask you to maybe contrast that. Is this, have you ever been like self-analytical to the point where you said like, maybe this is a mode of self-expression from being maybe a little bit repressed in childhood from this side of life and from this side of art, that sort of thing?
Yeah. So I've thought, especially, I'm in my 30s now, and I've been actually thinking about that more now than ever. And I'm an only child, first of all. My parents, and I know this isn't, I guess even that common these days. My parents are still together. They've been together, I don't know, going on 40 or 50 years. My parents had me very late in life. They had me in their 40s. Mid-40s, something like that. So my parents are a little bit older. And when I grew up, my folks definitely, I wasn't like insanely sheltered. Like I went to school with people that were a little bit more sheltered than me, but in terms of like media consumption, music, movies, all that kind of stuff, they were very, very strict as to what I could and could not watch. Like and they got me programmed to like, even when I was early teens, when I first started like go over to sleepovers and things like that with friends, I would have to call and ask permission to watch certain movies or things like that. And I grew up with like the Nintendo 64, for example, and I wasn't allowed to play anything even slightly violent. Like I remember the first time I played that game, GoldenEye. I kind of got into some trouble for that. They just really wanted to prevent me from being exposed to any sort of violence or, explicit. And my parents are still like, I've never heard either of my parents drop an F-bomb. They won't use the Lord's name in vain, anything like that. But in terms of the morbid kind of stuff and self-expression, so ever since I was little, I've had an interest in all things macabre, and not in terms of acting out, but just genuine interest in all things kind of morbid. Like I think one of my first memories of seeing something that was kind of grotesque, even though it's not grotesque at all, but when I was maybe 3 or 4 years old, I was I was born in Chicago, and I was down in the we had a basement, and I would watch TV with my dad. My dad would put on VHS tapes and such, and and I'll never forget. It's really ingrained in my memory. But we were watching a VHS. I think I still have it on about planes, and there was a gentleman named, I think I still remember his name. I think it was Chuck Yeager, who broke the sound barrier. And there's footage of him in his cockpit, and it's like a close up of him with an oxygen mask. It looks like a gas mask, right? And something about that scared the hell out of me. You know, a gas mask are a little bit grotesque, and in like a lot of what there's some horror movies that guys are wearing a gas mask. They're kind of creepy, right? And so I remember that I had to cover my eyes, and I'm kind of a repetitive guy. I'll watch and listen to the same things over and over and over until I can't take it anymore. So I'd watch this VHS on repeat with my dad, and I'd cover my eyes every time I saw this guy with a gas mask. But I remember it intriguing me, just something inhuman or creepy about it. And that was kind of my first experience really being interested in something that was a little bit grotesque. And then as I got a little bit older, maybe 4 or 5 years old, my dad has a friend who's I think maybe a Vietnam veteran. He's a pretty weird guy, but he would give me action figures of skeletons, and I kind of had a fixation with skeletons, creepy stuff like that. Then I really then my parents showed me Indiana Jones Raiders of the Lost Ark when I was pretty young, and I remember seeing that. And there's I kind of got a fascination with Egyptian stuff, specifically like mummies and things like that. And my dad, who's a pretty cool dude, he would always take me to the Natural History Museum. At that time, we lived in Colorado, and I loved skeletons of animals, skeletons of mummies or things like that. And I looking back, and I go to therapy on a bi-weekly basis, just for the hell of it. It's really great, and I've asked him what he makes of kind of this interest in morbid stuff. But long story short, when I was around, I don't know, 15, 16, I really started. I kept hearing about horror movies, things like that. Maybe a little earlier, maybe like 13, but I was never allowed to watch them. And so around that time, when my dad worked in Europe for a long time. He worked overseas, so he'd be gone for about a month, come back for a week, be gone for a month. He did that for many years. So it'd be my mom and I most of the time. And she would go to Bible study a lot. And she would drop me, or at my request, she was pretty cool. She would drop me off at Barnes and Noble, and I've never been much of a reader. I'm more of a pictures kind of guy. But over there, you could purchase movies and order movies without having to show an ID if it was like R-rated or something like that. So I don't know. I don't know how I figured that out. But I started to, and my mom would give me her card and be like, okay, you can buy one book or one music magazine, something like that. And I would go and buy movies. So movies were kind of my thing, like horror movies, exploitation kind of stuff was kind of my thing before music was really even in the picture initially. And I would buy things like Blair Witch Project, Texas Chainsaw Massacre, and I'd order all this stuff. She found out eventually. She wasn't happy. And I would throw the DVD cases away, and I would put the DVDs in my pants and then take them home. And when my parents went to bed, I'd pop it in my little DVD player and watch it with the remote in my hand the whole time, waiting for them to come in so I could stop it. And so, but it would always be creepy stuff. But looking back to see if, like these days with how extreme the themes are, if that's sort of a reflection. I'm sure it probably is, because I've, fortunately, I know this is a whole nother subject, but I never really got heavy into drugs. I did drink. I'm actually 2 years sober these days. I don't drink or smoke anymore, but I used to be really into pot, really into beer. That's pretty much it. But I went to school with a lot of people who are also raised very conservatively. And but the second they are out on their own, they get really involved with drugs, really involved with a bunch of different girls or guys, whatever, and they really go crazy because they've had all this pent up kind of stuff they've wanted to explore. So in my case, that was more so creepy media, music, extreme kind of themes of things. That's kind of what I sort of latched on to, just because I was really not allowed to deal with it much. But I think the root of it all, I don't really know, because I really never had, fortunately, very fortunately, thank goodness, I really had a great childhood. I really didn't experience any real serious, trauma, abuse, anything like that. So I really don't know where the roots of the dark themes come from, but pretty much anything I make music wise or artwork wise, like album covers, things like that, it's pretty much exclusively dark or twisted, or just dumb.
Huh.
That's it's either dumb or extremely brutal, and that's I know I'm tangenting a bit, but but the root of it, I don't know, because it's not really a fu to my parents. It's not really like, oh, you sheltered me, get this. It's really not that. Although they know what I'm involved with, but they are completely appalled.
To what extent do they know? Because you're not just like a dude in a vaguely anti-religious death metal band or something. Like you, I mean, we're gonna talk about some of your bands. You have some very like pornographic gore grind and gore noise and all. You're pushing the limits. With a lot of your projects. So I'm just curious about that. Like, how aware are your parents are of, and what do you think their conception of it is? Like, it's all just rock and roll or something?
So I wish. So, like, let me see here. So I'll say this before I totally answer that question. So I'll tell you one thing that has passed over from my religious upbringing is I really am not involved with any bands that are satanic. I know pornography and gore and perversion is one thing, but I'm like, whoa, at least I don't do the satanic stuff. But that was really ingrained. Like I really have never had any project that is, I have participated in black metal things, but it really wasn't satanic themed. But anyways, but to what extent? So fortunately, neither of my parents have social media, thank God. And so my dad is a little bit he doesn't want to talk about it. He's kind of don't ask, don't tell. My mom though, so when I was 19, I was in a band called Vaginal Mustard. Now I'll say this too. Most of my project names, most of them, I did not come up with. So I could shift the blame a little bit, but some of the worst ones I came up with. So at the time, that was this weird fusion. And also before I started about Vaginal Mustard, I know these days porno grind has a bad connotation. When I still make this kind of stuff. I know that rubs people the wrong way. And if anyone ever has an issue with that, you can just talk to me about it. It doesn't bother me. I like that stuff. I still make it. But at the time, I think this was in 2013, there wasn't a huge stigma around that. Not that I care really about the stigma. but it was like a weird combination of technical death metal with porno grind, which you don't really see very often.
Yeah.
And that's actually, and I was the drummer for that band, and I was having a blast at the time with that band, and the guitar player was beyond overqualified to be playing some music like that. But when I was kind of under the radar with this stuff, I had ordered. There were physical copies of our full length, and I ordered them. And my parent and I had this. I was living with my parents at the time, and I had the mail delivered there, and they opened up the box.
Oh.
And yeah, and so if you ever look up that band, a lot of our album covers are actually the complete opposite of graphic. They're just really dumb. Like our album covers were like some dude just sitting on the beach, and then we did like a Christmas album where it's just like just a little dog sitting by a fireplace. But the CD that they saw just happened to be the really bad one, and
Oh, God.
and it's like, and you can't justify any of this stuff, you know. And I'm not gonna pull the card like, oh, Mom, I'm an artist, you know, I'm angst, you know, I got nothing. So the album was a split that was between Cemetery Rapist and this band called Deflowered and us.
I know both
And
those. Deflowered from Texas opened up. I want to say when I was down there with a band I used to be in one day. Deflowered definitely opened up a show, I think, for a band I used to be in, or maybe when I was singing for Pyrexia, filling in on a tour once. I definitely played a show with Deflowered once, and everyone knows Cemetery Rapist. That's funny, man.
Right. And I love both those guys, but the album cover, it was also kind of dumb, but it was like a graphic kind of computer made image of some woman in like bondage attire with shit coming out of her mouth.
Yikes.
And
oh, man.
The album was called Shit, Rape, Semen. And so my parents see that, and they're just like, that's it. Like, you are out of control. Like, it was just because there was no real, too much of an escalation to that extremity.
Wow.
You know, I was in I did a solo project called Lascivious when I was, like 17, 18. And that was more serial killer kind of imagery. And that was pushing it. But then it just takes, you know, a way darker turn. And it's this, and then you read the song titles and it's even worse, you know. And so then they took those to a dumpster, threw them away.
Oh, no. The other two.
And they told my bandmates who were about 2 or 3. So I was 19 and my bandmates were like 16 and 17. And my mom specifically was like, you can't do that in this house. This is totally unacceptable. And I had nothing, and I was like, oh, well, you know, it's your house, whatever. But then we did, for a little bit, we kept the name but changed the theme. And my folks were now they were more involved. Like, what are you guys doing? And they saw how much I loved being in this band.
Oh.
And they saw how much we worked at it. And, you know, and we spent several days a week writing and recording and practicing. We played quite a few shows, but they saw that, you know, whatever. I guess this is maybe how they saw it. Zach isn't just sitting there playing video games. He's not out there doing a bunch of drugs. He's not out there partying, getting a car wreck, you know, all this kind of stuff. He's just working on things and he's staying busy. So we'll turn a blind eye to this.
Do you think they ever were just like, why vaginal mustard? Why not Guns N' Roses or something?
Again, I got nothing. My bandmates came up with that, and I mean, it's so dumb.
I just want to. I'm sorry if I could I really appreciate this story. If I could interject 1 second for the listeners, I did listen to Vaginal Mustard before this interview, and it's like brutal technical death metal. It's got like guttural vocals. It's actually really sick, and it's like that. It adds more comic value to this story. The fact that the actual music is really sick. So I'm sorry. Please go on. Please go on.
No problem. No, it was like we put an insane amount of effort into that, and like, yeah, it was a lot. Then we were originally not gonna do it live, but then we thought about it, and that took a lot of work, and that was probably like my peak drumming was back then. I think I only got worse from there on out, but. One more little anecdote. This is almost worse than that. Is when I got a torso fuck shirt in the mail.
Yikes!
So, yeah, and this was. It was. I don't even know if this company still makes them. It was a merch company. They did a bunch of the meat shit stuff. It's called Hail Death Productions. Old label, and they put out this torso fuck shirt. That I looked up on like T-shirt Slayer, and it's like super rare now. I wish I still had it, but it was it had a lady. Thankfully, it wasn't a real image, but still shocking. It had a lady that was face down on the ground, naked, with her butt in the air, and she was bleeding all over the place, and it had these two fists going in her orifices.
Normal death metal.
Fucking her decomposing cadaver, and then on the back it had the lyrics written in shit.
Normal death metal shit. Normal everyday death metal shit.
Yeah. And I remember coming home from work. I think I was 20 at this point. I was still at my parents. And that was like another one. Like, are you serious? Oh. Like, this is so bad. And I was like, you got me again. You got me again. And I've never been one to get too defensive about things. I think I get that from my old man. But I just sort of okay, I understand. But these days I'm over the super intense, fucked up artwork. I still appreciate it in terms of like merch, but the older I get, I don't really care about wearing that stuff around. In fact, I'm really not looking to start too many conversations in public, but yeah. And then one more quick anecdote about things like that. And we can get into this too a little bit. When I discovered gore noise stuff, let me see. I think that was 2014 was a very special year. Lots of like, this is where my mind kind of opened up, where I was like 19, 20, maybe 20. I forget how old I was, but speaking of Vaginal Mustard, actually, we were. I heard Cemetery Rapist was coming to town, and he was bringing Deflowered along, and it seems like Austin is a very out of the way kind of place for both of these. Well, at least Clay to play. And I remember hearing about this, and that three-way split had just come out, and I heard about this. I'm like, oh my god, we have to get on this show. Like that, it's like it's like the split in real life, whatever. And so I contacted Clay. I was like, how do we get on this? And he was like, hey man, and I didn't really know how booking shows worked. I'd been in bands before, but I wasn't really the guy that did the reaching out. And he's like, well, message this guy. And he was this guy in town. His actual legal name is Johnny Cash, and he's a harsh noise artist. And I messaged this guy, and I kind of looked through his pictures, and I'd heard of harsh noise before, but I'd never seen what, like, and so I was looking at his pictures, and he had this abstract, absurdist sort of image. And I was like, what the hell is this kind of thing? And I looked at the lineup. I had heard of nobody. I messaged this guy. I was like, hey, I'm in this technical porno grind kind of band. Can we play at the show? And he's like, yeah, I don't care. And so it was actually at a gay bar that at the time was the sleaziest gay bar in town. They shut it down. And like there were orgies there and all this kind of thing. And we get there, and we play our set, whatever. Then there's this guy that I want to shout out, and I would like to get maybe back into this guy a little bit too. This guy named Roland, and he's very low key dude, and because I remember on that, I forget the podcast I heard recently that you did that had Baby Chico at the beginning, but he mentioned like modern gore noise king, whatever. I totally disagree with that. This guy Roland is the modern gore noise king. He not too many people know about him. His project's called Pseudomonas aeruginosa, and he very low key kind of dude, has no ego. He's been doing it since 2009. But anyway, I saw him play. He played after us, I think, and I had never seen anything like it. Like I'd heard of gore grind before, obviously, but not gore noise. And he was doing it live. He's there with a gimp mask, shirtless, bass covered in obscure stickers, and playing to like just a machine gun program backing track. And up to that point, and yeah, I'd never heard of anybody doing something like that. And I remember I went up to him after the show. And don't worry, I know I'm tanging. I'll tie back into the parents thing. It'll get back into that. But I saw him after the show, and he's there alone, quietly with a shoebox full of cassette tapes, and just drinking a Michelob Ultra. And he got me confused with somebody else. Like there was this guy that was quote unquote slinging vaginal mustard merch, and he's a dickhead, and he thought I was him. Long story short, I went up to him. I'm like, hey man, can you explain what you just did? Like, what is that? Because that it's so cool. And he didn't really want to talk to me. And I said, do you have any merch? Like whatever, I want to buy all of it. And he had cassette tapes. They didn't even have jewel cases. They had like little rubber bands wrapped around the cases or the tapes in the art. And that's the first cassette tape I ever bought. And so, and he's like flipping in the mini CDs. I had never seen anything like this. And I paid him like $100, and he gave me everything. And so I brought this back to my parents' house and listened to it. And luckily I had a cassette player in my car. And that's the first time I ever listened to any sort of, like maybe when I was a little kid listening to cassettes, but I was listening to his stuff. Then I left it out on the table. I took a picture to tag him in it on Facebook, and I left it out. And then I worked the next day. I get home, and all of it's gone. And my mom had not only taken that, but there was some, at this point, even when I was 20 years old, I was totally desensitized to gore, graphic, pornographic. It was nothing to me. And so she had taken my entire tape and CD collection to her church, funny enough, to her church dumpster and threw it away.
Not just any dumpster.
And not just any dumpster. Yeah. And so I was really upset. And I even told them I'm moving out. But they're like, okay, cool, move out. You can't afford it. It's like, damn, you got me. And so I went and dug most of it out, and I still have that. So that's the long as hell answer about the parental observations.
I do appreciate that. I didn't think we were gonna do. You had a lot of interesting stories there. A lot of fun stuff there. So who was there? Did I get that right? Somebody was making or selling vaginal mustard merch who shouldn't have been?
No, I should have been more specific. There was a guy, because I thought we were the shit. And I paid a bunch of money to have a bunch of merch printed.
Okay.
And I wanted to show up at this show to be like, oh, look at us. We got CDs, we got shirts, we got all this. And there was some dude that wanted to see us. He said we couldn't do it live. He was a total dickhead. He's like, this is too technical. You can't do it. So I was like, all right, show up, sell our merch. And so that's what it was.
Okay. Wow, the vaginal mustard lore. I didn't think it would go that deep. Okay, man. But here we are today. We got we're like a half hour in, dude. I really do appreciate that story. The mom, shout out to your parents. I if you're still cool with your parents, then I am too, man. But that is deep. Your mom took the tapes, didn't just throw them out, threw them in the church dumpster.
Yep.
The blessed dumpster. Okay. So now, so catching us up to speed. And by the way, just to top, I'm laughing. I'm hoping I'm laughing with you, not at you, because I just
Oh yeah.
as a reminder to the listeners, I did grow up and was sent to Catholic school. As I said, my parents were not necessarily that conservative with the music and the movies and all that sort of thing, but I can relate, and I have some friends who can relate, and it's a common. I think a lot of the listeners can relate. That my experience on this podcast is a lot of guests have stories kind of along those lines, although yours is one of the more extreme ones. But yeah, go ahead.
Yeah, and I see I could see the absurdity, and I laugh at it too, and that's why I was mainly sharing those stories, because they're funny, and it's stuff that I wouldn't swing these days, and I have no idea what I was thinking back then or my rationale. So I'm sorry for tangenting for so long.
No, I was enjoying it, man. There's some fun nuggets in there. But again, talking about fun nuggets, like we said, Barely Breathing Fest this August 15th and 16th here on Long Island at Mr. Beery's. I think not sure if they're doing two locations for the 2 days or just Mr. Beery's. Follow Baby Chico Records on and Syrup Head Records on social media for all that crazy stuff. We're gonna have those guys back to sort it out. But two of your projects are actually coming to New York and performing on either day. Did I get that right?
Yes, sir.
Tell us a little bit about which ones. And if you can, just like catch us up to date on what each band has been kind of doing, and if the listeners aren't familiar.
Yeah, so I guess I'll let me sort of plug the one that's not very well known first.
Yeah.
So the first one's going to be, I think it's the first day, is this project I do with Rusty and Amelia from Breathing Problem Productions. Also Mental Abortion. They do all sorts of stuff. It's called Female Autoerotic Asphyxiation, and it's gore noise stuff themed around. So I think it was heavily inspired by. There's an older gore noise project called Submersed Cadaver, which had members of Vomitoma and members of this project called Elephant Man Behind the Sun. R.I.P. James, his name was. But it's kind of themed around like pollution, kind of, even though the name has nothing to do with that. It's kind of themed around like death in the water or fungus, think the Ganges River, for example, and themes around just like nasty liquid. And so we've only done that live once, and people that saw that are just like, well, this is pretty much just like Mental Abortion with pitch shifted vocals. But it's definitely different. The drumming style is different. And when we started that, I think Rusty had asked me, this was in maybe 2019 or something, maybe 2020. Rusty had asked me to program drums for a new gore noise project he wants to do. And I am terrible at programming drums. And in fact, I really don't have the patience for it. And if I do it, I actually do it on a phone app. And so I sent him drums for that. And then he wanted to do another one. And I was like, well, I can sort of pretty much emulate these programmed drums with live drums. And primarily like techniques like gravity blasting, like anal. No, I'm sure we'll get into anal birth, but you know how anal birth, have like the little drum fill at the beginning that Adam's kind of doing with his fingers, and he hit play, and it's like the machine gun.
Very well.
And so with like gravity, yeah, you're in the band, and but we're essentially trying to emulate that. And I was like, well, I can kind of do that with like gravity blasting, if you know what that is. And so that's that. And so it's pretty much like gore noise with live drums, and pitch shifted vocals. And I know on the albums there aren't any actual instruments. I don't think. I think it's besides drums. It's like drums and then Rusty with like a contact mic and a piece of sheet metal, and then vocals. And then, but I think on the new stuff, or I know on the new stuff, I added like just like fuzz, like blown out bass just to add depth. But I think live is just going to be us three. Amelia is actually doing vocals, pitch shifted vocals, and then Rusty on sheet metal and myself on drums. So that's female autoerotic asphyxiation. That'll be our second show ever. And then Morgtar is going to be, and I know people some people, at least with the real underground, nasty gore grind stuff, people seem to know about that one more than a lot of the other things I'm involved with. And that'll be our first show, and it'll be my second time meeting Travis, the drummer, in person, which even though we've been working together going on 6 years.
Wow.
And we talk a lot. I love that dude. And he is so, I can't speak highly enough of him. He's so focused. He's like a true gore, like old school shot on video, like professional. And he's really obsessed with the D beat. Like I've never, like I think there are some Morgtar albums that are literally only D beat drumming. Like there's nothing else. Like maybe some like polka beat type thing going on every song, but he's really, more than anyone probably on earth, maybe at this point, is more locked into the D beat obsession than anyone. And yeah, I'm trying to, because it'll be our first time doing it live. We were discussing how to go about it, because like in the recordings and such, it varies a little bit, but pretty much it's like these days it's like D beat, a little bit of blast, D beat, a little bit of blast, more D beat, and it's just drums, bass, and vocals. And I do bass and vocals, and the bass is tuned so low, it's like basically in 8-string tuning. I had to take my bass in, because you can't get strings that thick at the store. I had to get them custom ordered and put on, and all this shit sanded off the bass to make it fit. And but it, if you listen to the recordings, it almost just sounds like I'm just making noise with the bass. But believe it or not, there are actually riffs. It's kind of like the idea with like Brodequin and stuff like that, how it just sounds like slop because of the production, but there's actually some really wild stuff going on. Not trying to compare myself to them. We're nothing like them, but yeah, and I got to figure out how to do vocals and a stringed instrument at the same time. I've never done that. I've like bullshitted it, like gore noise stuff, but not actually trying to play. And I got to figure out how to emulate the vocals, because in the recordings, it's obviously pitch shifter. I could do that live, but it's like 2 layers of vocals, one like 2 octaves down and one octave down. So I'm thinking about getting like an A/B selector, and 2 microphones to switch between them. Think about maybe asking somebody on stage to do second vocal. We'll figure it out. But yeah, and those are the 2. Really looking forward to it. And I'm really looking forward to coming back to New York again. That first experience was so amazing. Just, there are so many, or the first Barely Breathing, there were so many people that I've communicated with over the years that I'd never met in person. I'm kind of a shy person. I don't really talk too much unless spoken to, but that was like hugely eye-opening. I'm really looking forward to this one.
As am I. It's going to be a great time. And by the way, for listeners, Morgtar has a pretty prolific Bandcamp page with a lot of releases as recently as June and April of this year. New releases, right?
Yes, and there's very little change in the formula, and Travis, the drummer, he's in charge of basically everything. He does the band camps, the songs. He comes up with insane song titles. I think he even put it on Spotify. He does the art. He does everything. Of course, he doesn't gatekeep that from me. It's not like, oh, I'm doing all this, but he does such an amazing job, and he's an incredible graphic designer. He does such an amazing job with all that business kind of stuff, and he prints the merch, all that. I just let him do all that, and he basically just says, "Here are drums, bass, vocals, whenever you're ready," and I just do that, send it off, and my part is done.
Almost as easy as my part, just doing the vocals over everything, man.
Yeah.
All kidding aside, though, man, it's good that you guys have a working process. I wanted to touch on you have a few other projects that aren't on this year's Barely Breathing. We'll leave it open-ended. One I really want to talk about is Purge Liquids, which we brought up before. I was able to check out the album on the Gore Grinder YouTube channel. I'll say it this time. I'll give you a break. Anthropophagic Necrofluidvore on Subliminal Facial Productions. And there was also, I'm on Discogs, Pathological Penangalon on Running Through the Blood Productions, both in 2024, last year.
Yes. No, and good job in that pronunciation. You can pronounce it better than me. Yeah. So, Purge Liquids is, so it's kind of an evolving thing. So there's this gentleman named Steven who moved to Austin in maybe 2022, 2023, something like that. And, here in Austin, the gore grind scene, there's no gore grind scene. It's just like the people who are into that kind of thing is very small. I know all of them, and I can count them on my hand. And so it's like, it's usually myself working with like 2 or 3 other people. And I'm usually and not like, oh, you have to have me in your band, but I usually just feel compelled to be just involved with all of it. Cause it's so rare to find like-minded people. And this guy, Steven, came into town and we met through my friend Roland, and they had like a gore noise project. And I was like, man, like fresh meat. And this guy's older than me. It's kind of funny. He's married. He's like a family man, super sweet guy, super intimidating looking, kind of freaky looking dude, but like nicest guy ever. But real antisocial type. And so I reached out to him. I was like, man, we have to start something. And he's probably the most enthusiastic, he's like the apex gore grinder that no one knows about. He lives and breathes it, and that's like all he does is listen to grindcore, gore grind, black. He's really serious about this stuff. And he was very enthusiastic about starting something. So we started off, and he already had the name. And I know there are other, I think there's Putrid Liquid. It's not like a crazy unique name, but he had the name, and then we started off doing somewhere between gore grind and gore noise stuff. And we did that. We did like a couple Purge Liquids little demos that aren't anywhere online, I don't think. And that was just like, the classic distorted, like slop, detuned, muddy bass with programmed drums. But he wanted to play the drums. And by the way, Steven has like 100 side projects, but that's beside the point. But he wanted to play the drums on I think it's a Lesis SR16 drum machine by hand, as opposed to programming them, which I the only other guy that I knew that really that master that is, of course, John Engman, which I know has been on your show. Love that guy.
Great guy, yeah. Been a while.
And I've I know he got a lot of heat, not heat, but a lot of hate for like when he, had this back thing and then got back on the kit with the NPC pad.
Yeah.
And, like many people, I thought that shit's so cool. And my friend Steven was familiar with this too. And he's like, I don't think I could do it to this level yet, but let's try it. And I guess if you can find someone that's willing to play extreme, metal, and you can do it like halfway decently, they'll probably ask you to be a part of it. And so I was like, okay, well, you do the drums. I get a break from drums for once. And so it was just like him just kind of blasting as fast as he could on the drum pad. And then we do kind of do the anal burst thing where it's like we do have like one little, like a play button that will play like a machine gun, kind of blast automatically. That's not him, but everything else is him finger drumming it. And so we recorded that necrofluid board, let's just call it that. We recorded that on a 4-track. I'm real big on the 4-track. And we did that all at once. So he's plugged into one input with the drum machine. Well, we do the vocals separately. And then I switched to guitar, just to, because, the bass and the machine gun drums, that I would say it's a little more unique. I'm not talking smack about Anal Burst. Anal Burst, the king. But I was like, let's try Gorners with guitar, just to change it up, different frequencies going in there. So we recorded that, but I just sort of wanted to, when we were recording that, like there are actually some riffs in there. And I was kind of improvising riffs. And about halfway through recording that, we were kind of discussing like, okay, do whatever, poke a beat here, then go full blast here, then do a slow part, like Carcass kind of style, then hit the machine gun, then we'll stop. So we did that. And yeah, recorded straight to tape, no edits or anything like that. And then, I'm real big on the nastiness of the tape thing. I'm not like, oh, it has to be analog, that pure warm sound. I like it just because it sounds nasty. And I think we actually recorded that on a lower quality, like Type 1 cassette, just to make it nastier. It adds a little bit of an ambience as well. And so we did that. And then there was a label run by this guy named Eric called Running Through the Blood. Really serious underground stuff. I don't think the guy has any social media. Maybe he does now, but it's like he wanted to put out something by us. And so we kind of changed the formula a little bit. So I was like, well, this is what happened. We played a show where it was probably 75% improvised, and then there were certain parts that I lock in with a riff. And it was his drums that he played directly into the computer, played as a backing track. And I was going up there with the guitar, and he does vocals. And Steven does vocals. And then when we were up there, I felt like a dumbass because I was like, I'm sort of bullshitting. And that was the first time I'd ever played guitar. I think that was like last year, maybe the year before, guitar live. And I was like, man, I'm just sort of bullshitting this. I feel better if I'm up there making noise with a bass, not a guitar. I was like, well, what if we actually try to write songs for this? And so for that pathological Panalinga Ding Dong one, it's like, I think it was a mini CD. That one, we actually really discussed what we're going to do. And we switched drum machines. So I got this Roland sampler, and playing on that SR16 drum machine is a total pain in the ass. Like all the buttons are really small. You can't really adjust the sensitivity or anything like that. And you got to jump around. Like, the snare button is like 3 or 4 inches away from the kick. It's a mess. And so Steve would basically be giving himself carpal tunnel every time he tries to record one little fill.
Wow.
And so I was like, well, I got this sampler, that we can, and I'm not technologically savvy at all. Like I haven't updated my computer since 2010. It's bad.
Huh.
So we plugged in the drum machine, the Alesis one, into the Roland one, and got all the drum samples off there onto this larger, more ergonomic pad. So, and the whole time being heavily inspired by John, and he did your interview, which I listened to religiously, and I listened to some other kind of noise podcast he did, and he kind of explains how he sets that up. And I also talked to him on social media a little bit, got some tips, and so we were able to get this pad a little bit more ergonomic. So like as opposed to one kick drum, now there's two kick drum pads, two snare pads, so you can move around a little bit quicker. And so we recorded that little EP in a very meticulous manner. Like we sat there and got a piece of paper and wrote down the transitions and like certain parts we want to do and things like that. So that was all meticulously done. And that, when saying that, it was not improvised. And so myself being primarily a drummer, we kind of bounced ideas off each other and laid down these drum patterns first. And he does them all in one take. And then I listen back to the parts, and then I write the guitar to fit whatever drum parts he's doing. So we recorded that in that fashion.
That's interesting.
And yeah, it's kind of backwards way of doing it. Yeah. And that's kind of how I've always been, is when I as a drummer, I can, especially with like more brutal forms of music, it's easier for me to write guitar parts when you have a drum part already established. It can inspire riffs, at least for me. If I just sat there with the guitar and just tried to think, okay, jun, 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 no, wait, jun, 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 it's just like, it's hard to remember. And so I recorded the guitar for it, then the bass for it. And then Stephen came, did both. And we did that on the computer. We didn't do the analog anymore. It's just it's way easier. And, in that recording, there's two guitar parts, pan left and right. No copy and paste, just play. And yeah. And so that was that. Then we played live a couple times, and that was my first time ever playing guitar live in like a serious manner. I was very nervous, and that was a big learning curve because I've been recording guitar for a little over 10 years, been playing guitar for about 15, 16 years, but it'd always be sitting in front of my computer. And, with multi-tracking and things like that, I would just, record one little riff at a time, open another track, record just do it in tiny sections. But Purge Language is a big learning curve because I'm like, oh shit, first of all, I have to stand. I've always just sit at my desk and play. I have to learn how to play standing. I have to learn how to headbang while playing, because I don't want to just stand up there like a dork. I want to try to get into it, even if I'm not. And, I have long hair. I was like, this is why you've been growing out your damn hair. And and then also building up the stamina to play like a 20, 25-minute set. So that was a big learning curve. But I've got to really enjoy it. About once or twice a week, even if we don't have shows, I put my headphones on. I live in a tiny apartment, and just play through the set a couple times, and it's a lot of fun. And we played maybe 3 or 4 shows. It's all low key stuff. It's just for fun. But recently, the last couple months, we've been working on a full length album, and we've everything is oh, I'm sorry, I forgot to mention one other release. We did a split with this shout out to this gentleman Felix. He's been doing this stuff for so long. He runs a YouTube channel called The Treasure Hunter, which he was like the first time uploads for lots of great I think the first cephalotropsy, or the big one, the universal insertions one, he uploaded first. And I think he was like 14 when he uploaded that. But this guy Felix, really underrated dude. He would have some crazy stories. He's from Sweden. Anyway, he has a one-man gore grind project called Sarcophagia. We did a split with him just because he's an OG. He's always been a huge supporter. And then, that one we kind of stepped it up in terms of technicality. Now there's like sweep picking, lots of tapping, like stuff that I guess you wouldn't usually associate with gore grind stuff. And even my friend Steven, who's the easiest dude, the drummer vocalist, the easiest guy to work with ever, is even in the nicest way possible saying, like, maybe we shouldn't go too beyond the genre. We should. That's part of the charm with gore grind stuff. I kind of think is you kind of put a muzzle on yourself in a lot of ways. Like you kind of stay in this pocket. Just brutal. It's not about showing off. Maybe besides the drummer, it's not really too much about showing off how amazing of a musician you are. It's more of a unit of just a wall of brutality than just like, oh, this guy really is cool at guitar. So even though I preach that, I found myself wanting to get more and more technical with it, even though I've had to pump the brakes on that. And
you put if you I was gonna say, if you put too much in the pot with gore grind, it just turns into weird death metal.
Right.
You don't really have gore grind anymore.
And that takes away from the charm. Maybe I look cool up there, but as a band, as a unit, that's kind of defeating the purpose. It's a weird predicament to be in, actually. But to wrap up Purge Liquids a little bit, we've been taking our time working on this full-length album, and we didn't want to do something that was just another 20-minute kind of thing, not just like trying to fill up time. We just kind of wanted to do as long as we feel is the right length. And we don't want to go too overboard with the samples. So there may just be an intro, maybe one or two spliced in, but without samples, we're at about 40 minutes. So we're wrapping that up. I'm writing the last song on guitar now, and I know Breathing Problem already said they're gonna put it out on LP sometime in the future. And then there's this project that puts out a lot of the label that puts out a lot of the Morgtar stuff called Surrogate Records. I don't know where that guy's from, maybe Russia or UK or something like that, but he's doing a CD, and then I think we're going to do like a self-released tape. But recently, my friend, very close friend and collaborator, his name's Josh. He was the NBA bass player, and we do so much stuff together. Talking to this guy, you'd never ever imagine that this dude's into gore grind or noise or extreme. He's just super normal, chilled out dude. Doesn't wear any band, just normal guy. But we do so much together that because we were looking for a bass player, and he was like, "Well, I can do it," And I was like, "Man, like I don't want to put too much on your plate. I already have you tag along for everything. You're my go-to guy." But he's like, "No, I'll do it." So he's our live bass player, which was a learning curve too, because we're tuned so damn low, and we're in drop F tuning, which is like 8-string tuning, and so we had to mess with his bass a bit because there are other alternatives to playing that low. Like you can actually play an octave up. You can get lighter strings for clarity. But me being hard-headed, I'm like, no, let's just keep it brutal. Keep that like jump rope on that low end. And so, and that poor guy is learning all that material. And, I tab out all the songs with full intention of playing everything live. And with this full length that we're almost done with, I've been playing the bass on the recordings just to hear what it'll ultimately sound like. But I think tomorrow he's coming by, and I'm going to delete all the bass tracks I did, that he's going to put his touch on the album, because I'm kind of against, like, unless it's strictly like a live like member. If you're a member of a band, I don't want to be like, no, you only play live. Like, I think it's really important, even if it's easier for me to play the bass part since I'm so familiar with the material. I think it's a morale boost and very important for the bass player, whatever other live member you have, to be on the album. That way, just for satisfaction purposes, and I'd hate for us to put an LP out and him not be on it. Even though I don't think he'd really care.
I agree 100%, man. I was in a position once many years ago where the quote unquote lead guitarist wanted to leave the other guitarist off of the recording and he wanted to do both the tracks. And this was a guy who had played every show. I mean, he was a member of the band. He played every show. He sold merch at the merch table. He did everything. And I advocated for him, to the band, for him to play on the album, because the guy kind of didn't stick up for himself, and he ended up playing on the album. Flash forward years later, he didn't have my back when they kicked me out of the band. I should have left him off the record. I can laugh about it now. I think it's a funny little paradox. All right, it's all good, man. But yeah, I do agree with that concept, man. If you got somebody who's playing all the shows and everything, even there's those bands where it's one guy doing everything, and I think with every band it's different. But personally, I understand your logic there for sure.
Yeah, and and this is the last thing I'll say about Purge Language is we're kind of like that with the drumming too. Like Steven, who is not a drummer by experience or anything like that, he just picked up this pain in the ass little pad out of nowhere just to experiment. And on the album, we do it in sections just because things have gotten much more complicated. But nothing is like programmed. Nothing is like whatever quantized. Nothing is copy and pasted. Like there were some parts. It's kind of funny. There are some parts that were so difficult, and that like one little, I don't know, not even 10, maybe 8-second little fill or drum part that he does with his fingers took like 2 hours to get down. And once he starts getting frustrated, we'll stop and we'll actually we'll do yoga on the floor and just to chill out. It's not what you'd expect by, probably a band that makes such nasty kind of stuff, but we'll sit there, do yoga. We'll just talk about family life just to get his mind off of it. Then we go back. I'm all right. Let's try it again. And he usually gets it right after that.
That's
we did that a lot during the recording process. Kind of funny stuff.
I've never seen him do it in the studio or at rehearsal, but Cody from Afterbirth is I believe he might still be, or he was at one time, a certified yoga instructor.
Nice.
Yeah,
that's cool.
Very even-keeled guy. All right, man. I want to encourage people to check out that Purged Liquids. And like I said at the top, you've got a lot of projects. You got a lot going on. Barely Breathing, people could check out 2 of those projects. You also have there's a lot of labels, a lot of terms that go with this type of stuff, but I'm going to say a noise project called Infibulation, and another band you told me about called Forced Entry. I don't know if you just want to touch on those and maybe plug and promote anything else you got going on quickly before I ask you to recommend some stuff.
Yeah, absolutely. So been kind of involved with noise, harsh noise kind of stuff for about 10 years, maybe a little bit more. I went to my first noise show in I think 2014, and I really didn't get it, but the people there, because I kind of witnessed it as a live thing before. Like actually sitting there and listening to noise, which I still don't, call me a poser, but I still don't really listen to that much noise. But and it was kind of almost like a party atmosphere, and a lot of the stuff that Austin used to have like a pretty big noise scene, like just strictly noise stuff. I mean, there's some experimental bougie kind of stuff mixed in, but I knew a couple guys that are really into the crazy abstract, like doing stuff like, you got a wall of noise while, like, okay, so there was this project called Hard, HARD, that was something called harsh noise wall. I remember that first Adam Heavy Hole episode he talked about harsh noise wall.
Yeah.
And these guys were like doing it but making fun of it. And so these two dudes, one of the guys is kind of heavy set, the other guy's really skinny. And they would take their shirts off, and for 20 minutes they just had a wall of noise blasting while they just stood there with their arms crossed and stared at a plate that had a pyramid of hot dogs on it. So I kind of got into the noise stuff by just the absurd factor of it. And it wasn't until 5 years after that things started to take like a more serious turn, because back then, like, there were lots of people that did like power electronics, but they were making fun of it. And like and then sort of my mind got used to like power electronics, basically, noise with vocals, right? Though there's definitely a difference, but I was kind of under the impression for many years that that's like cringy, or it's just try hard, and it's like tough guy, and it's dumb if you're up there doing it seriously. And that's kind of the way the atmosphere was then. Like, people, like I said, did joke projects like that, but I'll never forget. I'd always heard of this project, and I think you even maybe mentioned it once briefly. Was this project called Taint? He's passed away now, but he was this power electronics noise artist from Waco, Texas. And, he barely ever played live, anything like that. But I had heard of his material before. And I remember being at the gym, I think it was 2019, 2018, right? Yeah, in 2019, right when he passed, that someone posted a podcast where they're talking about knowing him and some of the stuff he was involved with. And I listened to it at the gym, which is a great place to listen to stuff. And I was very fascinated by not only the material he made, but the themes, and just how a lot of the themes in his music were actually transition into his personal life. And it's not like, talking about, or just his general dark, perverted interests. And so and I listened to his stuff, a lot of his older stuff that was like there are lots of like field recordings and like lots of scraping metal and things like that reminded me of the Texas Chainsaw Massacre soundtrack, which is one of my favorite movies. Real original, I know. But I started to listen to his stuff and try to do as much research on this guy. And he's very cryptic. And something clicked in my brain to where I was like, for the first time, I want to make noise stuff, but in a serious, dark manner. And so I think it was in 2021 that I started to experiment. And all the Infibulation stuff is all done on 4-track. No computer involved. And it took about a year to not be questioning, like, I'd had these moments like, what am I doing? Like, this is boring. Like, this is like, I don't really understand what I'm doing. I don't get the point of this. Like, no one's going to listen to this. I could act like I don't care, but I do. And it's not like, it's more ambient than like interesting, cut up, like real dynamic stuff. It's more like brooding, creepy stuff. But it took about a year or 2 years to really get into it. And of course, and like with a lot of music, unfortunately, I'm not like super, I don't listen to like a wide variety of stuff. It's usually like one artist that I listen to over and over and over and over. And that was kind of Taint for me. And, but only within like maybe the last year or two, because I think I've been doing Infibulation about 4 years, I've really kind of found my stride with it. And because for a while it was like layering stuff on a 4-track, and then I got obsessed with like, well, if I were to do this live, could I pull this off? So then a lot of the stuff was recorded all at once, like live recording. And I did it live a couple times, and it was terrible. I thought it was terrible. But forcing myself to go out there and do it live was like, okay, I got to refine this. And then so it was like live recordings, doing it all at once, and now it's back to like layering stuff. And the themes are obviously not for everybody. It started off with just like, because like lots of people these days, I'm really obsessed with like true crime stuff, creepy, perverse stuff, and just to be honest, like a lot of the everyone knows this, people these days are more likely to get offended by things and themes, which a lot of the stuff, I would agree, there should be a certain level of sensitivity. No one should be triggered unnecessarily. It is good to consider what people have been through and not to make light of certain things that could bother people. But to be perfectly honest, there is a part of me that wants to push it, and it's not just to offend, but it's just to kind of go against the grain a bit. And there's really nothing within the infibulation themes that isn't a genuine interest. And I think of all the projects that I've ever done, that is the most self-expressive one, whether it be interests or my personal life. And so that project is quite close to me. I did a tape released on this label called Fusty Cunt, which is an amazing label, that I wanted to take it a little bit further in terms of like putting myself in the music. Now, I'm not a political guy. I really don't follow anything any more than I have to. I don't really have a message. But I did an album. It's very long. It's like an hour and a half. That because like on some of my older albums, the themes are like true crime. Yeah, like I said, like creepy, like picking up prostitute kind of lurker creep, and that's not really me. It's just involved with a lot of the true crime stuff I listen to. But I was like, what if I put myself in this? In a weird situation like that. So I dressed up in like lingerie, and I got dolled up, and I went to kind of sketchy parts of town, and I had my partner take pictures, and he acted like someone that would be soliciting prostitutes, and would take pictures, and we'd set up a camera so where it would be publicly viewed that it looks like I'm being picked. It was just trying to feel something and make it more personal. I used a lot of that art or a lot of that imagery within the that tape layout.
So you
and
did
things
that
like that. So,
you did that
yeah.
as a photo shoot?
A photo shoot and an experiment, yes.
Okay.
Were you
worried about getting arrested?
A little bit.
Huh.
But if they were to look up, if anyone were to say anything or you could just prove like, hey, this is just this. I was worried about a little bit, but I wanted to just feel something kind of outrageous or a little bit sketchy like that. Just because a lot of the music or the noise encapsulates a lot of those. It's like I wanted to put myself into the atmosphere of the music a little bit more. I know it's a little far, but nothing bad happened. It was totally fine. My partner was a little weirded out by it, but he's a weird guy too. And he was just like, all right, whatever. I don't get your, and my partner isn't into any of this stuff. Like, not metal. I mean, he likes like Celine Dion and stuff. Like, he is not into any of this stuff, but I think he appreciates it. But that's kind of the infibulation stuff. And I don't do it live very often. It's been probably 2 years. I've actually got removed from a show, just because of the theme surrounding it, which is totally understandable. But this person was, and this is a new word to me. I had to look this up. They said, well, your project is kind of sus, which means like suspicious, I guess, or just looks sketchy. And all I said was, yeah, like that's the point. Like it's, there's no message. There's no like, oh, I'm trying to talk about how frustrated I am with the current society. It's just, but if people have a problem with the themes and things like that, that's totally fine. Like, just don't ask me to play if I get kicked off. And
So what actually what actually happened? Take us through you getting kicked out off of a show, and did you were asked to leave the venue?
No, so I was asked to play, and then the night of the show, I was going to head over to the place, and then the person that booked the show, it was just a DIY, like, outdoor thing, and they were like, hey, and it was younger folks, I get it, but they were like, hey, like last minute, they were like, oh, some of the people that were attending the show looked up your project and we don't like what your message is and things like that. And if someone doesn't want me to play, I'm not going to fight it. I'm not going to be like, oh no, but I'm trying to spread awareness or anything like that. That's not the case. It's just, I like the creepy kind of out there kind of stuff. And so, yeah, it wasn't like a big deal. And, I was expecting like, oh, someone's going to get online and post like, oh, this guy's sketchy or anything like that. But that wasn't the case. But my old man once said, and this stuck with me forever, you can associate with whatever you want. Just be willing to deal with the backlash or the consequences, and don't get defensive about it. And that kind of stuck with me. But that's the only time that's ever happened with anything, any projects.
Okay, fair enough. Do you have any plans for the future to do anything out of the norm, like you've described for that project again?
Not really. I kind of got that out of my system, to be honest with you.
Okay.
I know Rusty is working on getting a noise show set up in New York. I know the scene for that type of thing is booming over there. I know there's that guy Jackson Kowalczyk. He does all sorts of stuff. He does. I know he did coagulative necrosis is his gore noise thing. He books all sorts of great experimental kind of shows out there. But I'm hoping to play out there. But in terms of weird going out there or weird going out dressed up like that, I'm not really planning. I think that was just kind of a one-time kind of thing, just to see what it kind of felt like.
Regardless, this project might be more at home in New York than in Texas. Just taking a stab at it. I don't know.
I feel that too.
But interesting. Okay. Not for the squeamish. That being said, I appreciate your time. We've been going for a while. I'm going to give you the opportunity to plug and promote anything else you might have failed to mention. But to wind things down, I'm going to ask you, I know you do listen to the show. You know where we're going. To recommend one older and one newer piece of music, demo, album, genre, whatever, just, something older and something newer that you think the listeners should check out.
Yeah, absolutely. And I got my my piece of paper with them right on here. So I was going to see, I felt like a poser because I wanted to mention something from my older that's in the 90s or something, but I'm in the early 2000s. kid. So I was born in the '90s, but something that's a little bit older, not super OG, would be. Again, I'm not great with pronunciation, but it's a French word. It's Marais Noir by the band Beneath the Massacre.
Huh.
It's like it's just an EP, but Beneath the Massacre is like technical death metal. It's completely crazy stuff, and this album heavily influences my guitar playing, and I can listen to this album on repeat. Really great stuff. They don't play live that often, but really wild, kind of almost neoclassical at parts, very brutal technical death metal stuff. So that's Marais Noir by Beneath the Massacre. That's my older one, even though that was released in 2010. That's, I guess, older at this point.
And unfortunately, it is. Time flies. Yeah.
And then the newer one, I feel like you probably heard, is Morbid Ataraxia by Putridity.
That's the one that just came out, right? Yeah.
Yeah.
That is pretty crazy.
Berserk.
Yeah. It's berserk, and there's something about it that it doesn't kind of melt in with a lot of other brutal death metal nowadays. It feels very organic, and it almost feels like when a lot of the brutal death metal stuff was coming out in the late 90s, early 2000s, and it hadn't like completely been dialed in and produced to death. You know what I mean? Great album. Absolutely great album. Two interesting recommendations. I thought we were going to be going a more obscure route, but I'm glad you brought those to the table.
I've been thinking about it the last week, and these are the ones I came up with. But now, quick question: have you heard of? They're pretty obscure. Enmity, the brutal death metal band.
Off the top of my head, it's not placing. I feel like that kind of rings a bell, but I don't know.
No, they're shrouded in mystery. It's these two brothers. But their stuff, but Putridity to me, any Putridity, I've been into them since they came out, but they sound like a more refined Enmity, and I think I don't know, I love them just because there's not just all slams, it's not just all, but they're like riffing hard, but keeping it all low, and it's like just blistering fast, and it's so complex. It's just like, I don't know how you remember all those riffs.
Yeah, I love the fact. I love when bands make stuff complex, but also stupid brutal. You know what I mean? It's like you gotta love that they didn't go the neoclassical kind of melodic route. They just, all their technicality is just on making it more chaotic and brutal and crazy. Something admirable about that.
Yes, absolutely.
The band,
those are my two.
Internal Suffering from Colombia kind of comes to mind. I think Putridity's doing something a little different, but I would put those bands in the same league, I guess you could say.
Yes, absolutely.
Yeah, man. Zach, it's been great talking to you. Anything else that you want to plug or promote, or anything else coming up besides those Barely Breathing shows while we close out?
Well, I don't play on a regular basis. I mean, it's usually, I have a couple friends in town, and again, I really haven't played much out of Texas. Just a few times. I have a little bit of traveling anxiety, but no, I shows pop up every so often, just booked by my small group of friends. And I can't think, there's always something on the books. I can't really think of anything, but I've actually never plugged this. I do a very, very small scale kind of distro thing of all my own projects. It's just through Instagram. I don't have a website or anything like that. I kind of had like a quote unquote, it's not even a label, for like 10 years that like no one knows about. It's mainly my own stuff that I release my own stuff. I don't have a website. I don't have a Bandcamp. It's just through Instagram. And my Instagram is Extremities with like a 3 as the first E. And, it's just like, if you're ever interested in any of my projects, it's mainly cassettes. I reissue lots of old stuff. It's nothing fancy, no real crazy special packaging, anything like that. It's just DIY. if you're ever interested in any of my projects, new and old, I can usually either make you a copy of something old, or I release small batches of stuff, but very, very low key, very, very small. Yeah, but that's it, Will. Thank you very much.
Fair enough, man. Okay, people can check out that Extremities, Extremities with a 3 as the first E. If you want to check out that low key, obscure tape collection, man. And Zach, we'll be watching for you at Barely Breathing, and I appreciate you checking in, man. Thank you so much for sharing. A lot of interesting stories, a lot of interesting lore there. And I'm going to remind people to check for all those projects you just mentioned, man. Thank you very much. Any parting words for followers of your different projects and listeners of the podcast?
Well, no, just thank you everyone for the years of support, and don't be afraid to let your freak out, and thank you very, very much, Will, for this second opportunity to go more in depth. I really enjoyed talking to you. Love the podcast and listening since the first one.
Thank you very much for that, and thank you to everyone else who's been sticking with me for all these podcasts now, man. I appreciate you guys, man, and thank you for your time. We'll be in touch going forward.
Thank you,
sure.
sir.
Ready to come back in hot?
Yes, sir. I don't know about hot, but
I gotta say, I'm patting myself on the back to make sure I didn't miss this one. So
I meant hot as in behind the scenes production lingo. All right, radio.
Oh no, I
radio
understood.
scene,
I'm
guys.
just happy that I didn't fall asleep this time or did not charge my phone.
Guys, let's settle in, settle down. All right. Shout out to Zach Fogle, man. Look. You can catch his projects that he's involved in. Female autoerotic. My Long Island accent prevents female autoerotic asphyxiation, and Morgtar at the Barely Breathing Fest that we talked about at the top of the episode. Now, Zach, be careful with those photo shoots out there, man. The cops are not playing nowadays. I'm honest. I'm actually kind of serious, man. But Barely Breathing Fest is some place that you can come out and get some good bands, do what tickles your fancy. We said again that's August 15th and 16th, but something we didn't really get into now, Needle Contaminated Pork doing a tour. Is this the first time they've played the United States? He's played the United States?
Yep, that's the first time he's come to the U.S. We've bothered him almost every year since the inception of Barely Breathing. He was finally able to make it out.
Wonderful. Let's hit him with the dates and the places with no further ado.
All right, so August 12th is Montclair, New Jersey at the Meat Locker.
Oh, that's such an appropriate place.
13th is Philly at the Snake Pit.
Nice.
August 14th is Hartford, Connecticut at the Dead Language Beer Project.
Woo.
And then final date is Mr. Beery's for Barely Breathing. So shout out to Ian and Zach and Seth for working with me to make this shit come together. It's been incredible.
All of the venues have sick names. I love it. It's really good.
Speaking of Rocker Show, Snake Pit, without blowing it up too much, Snake Pit is Rocker Show affiliated, and anyone who's familiar with that venue and the lineup for that show knows already how crazy that show is going to get, given how small that spot is.
Wow. Jeez.
I mean, what's there over Mr. Beery's?
Can I do like I'm not like merch and driving, but just like tag along on the tour and just kind of be like if the guy needs like an extra like respirator or something, I'll just run. I'll be like the respirator tech, you know what I mean, or something. Or if he needs a new hazmat suit, I'll be ready with it, you know, that type of thing.
I mean, hey, you could pick him up for me. That I do that shit for a living. I have to wear respirators and Tyvek suits, so I got plenty of stock.
Yeah, all right. So you got that on lock. All right. I'm familiar with OSHA regulations, but we'll talk behind the scenes. No, that's great. Looking forward to that. I would love to catch more of those dates. I'm sure those shows are going to be off the hook. They're all at cool venues, lots of great DIY vibes. But the Barely Breathing Fest here on Long Island, August 15th and 16th is definitely where I'm going to catch Needle Contaminated Pork. We talked about all the other bands at the top. In case you missed it, you can go to Baby Chico. What is it, the Baby Chico Records Big Cartel? What do you got?
Yeah, the Big Cartel.
All right, and the ticket link, you don't actually pay $1 million for the ticket. That just takes you to where you buy the ticket, dummy.
Yes, sir.
Come on, get with the times. You got to ask a punk. It's like Matrix style, ask a punk. All right. Speaking of asking a punk, I try to stay up on things. Sometimes I go to my friends. I say, what kind of music should I tell people I listen to so I sound hip and I sound like I know what's going on? Brian did me a favor, and he recommended some cool stuff. Brian, let's get into it right now, man. Let's talk about you recommended a band and more of a project. If you wouldn't mind maybe talking about the project first, because I feel like we were just talking about noise and power electronics and that world with Zach Fogle and his take on it. Maybe we could kind of get into this now, and then we'll talk about the band on the back end there, if you don't mind.
Yeah, absolutely. Of course I do not mind. It felt appropriate to recommend some A-Trax Morgue, given that Zach is on the episode.
Yeah.
Fucking legend of Italian experimental electronics, noise, death industrial, power electronics, dark ambient, all that kind of stuff. He was doing it from like the early 90s up until when he passed away. God, I want to say the mid to late 2000s. Don't quote me on that. I know it was definitely after 2000. But he has a song off of one of his many, many, many different releases called Forced Entry, which I haven't talked to Zach about this one-on-one, so I don't know for a fact, but one can assume that's where he got the name for the project from. A-Trax Morgue is like one of those projects like Death or like Bolt Thrower, where everyone has their own kind of like favorite release of his, and you could make the argument for any of them being someone's favorite. You know what I mean? Like no one's fighting over like, oh, you like this one the best, go fuck yourself. So with that in mind, my favorite release from A-Trax is always kind of changing. It was hard for me to pick one, so I went with two. The first one is Woundfucker. It's definitely more of like that kind of early 90s death industrial kind of stuff. There's no really like vocals over it. It's mostly instrumentals, but it's all these like crazy fucked up electronic sounds and all these like rolling sound textures and all that shit. Just very, very dark, almost ambient. And then there was also Slush of a Maniac, which is definitely on the more power electronics side of things. It came out in the early 2000s, so the production's a little bit better. And you could really hear a lot of like the yelled vocals, all that stuff. It's way, way more intense. It's kind of that turn of the century sound where, you know, you got influences of stuff like Death Pile and later White House and all that kind of stuff coming on in. But those are just the two that I've been listening to the most lately. Like I said before, anything by A-Trax Morgue, you could just go through his discogs and like pick a random thing that's on there and listen to it, and you'll probably be like, oh yeah, this rules.
It's vast. I mean, there's a partial discography listed on Wikipedia. Obviously, with a lot of these artists, there's lots of limited and underground releases, and it's hard to keep track of everything, I imagine.
Oh, for sure. Yeah, and there's probably stuff out there where it's like, oh, this was on a mini CDR limited to 5 copies that came in a bag with sandpaper or whatever.
Yeah, we were talking about A-Trax Morgue and similar projects, things like that before, man. This type of stuff, it's I don't listen to noise. I know there are some people who listen to this stuff the way I listen to albums of metal bands, and that's fine. I'm interested to tap into that world in this podcast. It's always fascinated me, especially artists like this who. The name A-Trax Morgue, I would see it. I want to say I saw it in the Relapse Records would put out this big magazine / catalog in the late 90s. It was like a thick magazine, and it would have interviews and some stuff and a bunch of ads, and then it would have like just their whole catalog. And then it also had the one that I remember having. I might have it in a box somewhere. It had, what was it? Release Records was the Relapse Records side. It had like their catalog. And I remember, like, as a teenager, I was looking and, like, most of the Relapse stuff I had heard of or, like, became familiar with the bands. But then that Release guy was, like, all these, like, what is this? It was a very mysterious, exotic side of the underground scene. And A-Track's Morgue, just the name alone, because I was a death metal kid, that kind of fascinated me, man. And I did end up hearing them. I want to say they were on a compilation, or he had a track on a compilation somewhere. And then I ended up listening to some stuff on the internet years later, man. Very interesting stuff. And like I said, not stuff that I could like listen to all the time, but I have to respect it, like kind of artistically, I guess you could say on a level, you know, I just have a respect for that type of like really fringe activity. It kind of takes balls in a way, I think, you know?
Oh, for sure. Yeah, and like Marco as a person is a very, very interesting guy to look into as well. Just like, you know, his story and all that kind of stuff. Like he was one of those guys who he's almost like dead from mayhem, where he was just like people talk about like nihilism and all that kind of stuff. No, that guy was like fucking straight up like he hated being alive, and like a lot of his work reflected that up until the point that he offed himself.
Wow. Has there been a book, a proper book written about this guy or something, or anything to that nature? Some sort of or a documentary, maybe? Is there anything like that?
I don't know about like a book. I don't think there's a proper documentary. For whatever reason, there's been a lot of kind of YouTube music guys that have talked about A-Track's Morgue, but a lot of it is kind of like, you know, there was a couple months back, or almost like a year back at this point, where all these YouTube essay guys were like talking about Hannah Tarash and like, you know, oh, this is the band where like someone drove a bulldozer through the thing. Like it's like every once in a while someone will do that, and then it comes in waves where they're all talking about Seth Putnam, and then they're all talking about Gigi Allen. There was a while somewhat recently where it looked like A-Track's Morgue was going to be that new guy where everyone who has like no understanding of noise was just talking about it, just purely on like, whoa, this guy makes noise and it's music. That's crazy. But like, I don't think there's been a lot of like people who are in the noise scene making proper documentaries about this guy.
If I don't want to watch any video where they say he unalived himself, I'm just gonna
exactly, or committed sewer slide or whatever.
That's like even more degrading.
All right. Absolutely, yeah.
I'm sorry, John. Did you have anything you wanted to add in about A-Track's Morgue?
No, not particularly.
Okay, man. Because I can't see over there, man. All right. Yeah.
Everything was covered for sure.
Right. Rest in peace to this guy, man. And what was his name again? I'm sorry.
His like actual name was Marco, some Italian last name.
Rest in peace to Marco from A-Track's Morgue, man. You know, the art that he left is there. You know, and you can try to digest it at your own in your own time and at your own what do they say that?
At your own leisure, maybe?
At your own peril.
Your own peril? There you go.
Yeah, look, guys, I don't smoke weed. I'm tired of addressing those allegations. But moving on, maybe Tom could play us just a few seconds of A-Track's Morgue that are safe for human consumption. And now your next recommendation is very refined and structured compared to what we just heard. I'm busting balls. Let's get into it. What else did you want to talk about? I understand this kind of syncs up with another recent series of events with a band you worked with.
Yeah, man. So the album, or I guess it's an EP technically, I'm not really too sure, but it's from a band from Virginia Beach called Sick of Dying. It's called Scarcity. So I drove Failure, not the space rock band, another Italian group. There you go. Didn't even realize that. Italian kind of fastcore power violence band. I did a tape for their album last year, Obstinate, and they played MDF recently. So they did a little tour kind of to and from there. So I drove them on that run. And these guys were on the Norfolk, Virginia date. and they just blew me the fuck away. Like insanely tight grind violence, like a little bit of metallic hardcore tinge to it, but for the most part, it's just nonstop fucking blasting. Like it's very akin to the kind of stuff that you would see on the Vinod Karki YouTube channel from back in the day. Like a lot of this shit, like, you know, Sea of Shit, Sex Prisoner, Water Torture, Harm Done, all those kind of guys, just fucking no nonsense, straight to the fucking point. And it was one of those, it was to the point where I'm like, how have I never heard of these guys before? I looked them up and like, just they exist somehow in the middle of Virginia Beach and they're not massive. And I'm like, it doesn't make any sense that they're not huge. So I've been keeping in touch with them ever since the tour. And they were very, very nice enough to send up a bunch of CDRs of this release. So I'll definitely get one in your hands, Will, and you as well, Tom. But yeah, it's just phenomenal grind violence.
Yeah, I listened to it, and yeah, I was gonna say it's just kind of like really in your face, kind of like power violence. Like it's the type of power violence that's like super fast and brutal. It's like borders on grindcore, man. Just good shit all around. If you like that sort of stuff, you already know what to do with it, man, and it fits very well with the context of this episode, man. I'm glad you brought this in. That being said, guys, anything else you wanted to add about these guys? I figured we'll just kind of keep it short and sweet, like the band, before we get into it.
You could listen to their entire discography in like 10 minutes. So take 10 minutes out of your day and do that.
Fair enough, man. Yeah, so I'm gonna go ahead and cut it short there because I don't like talking about the bands with the short songs for too long. You know what I mean? It seems weird. But yeah, great stuff. And if you like grindcore, if you like power violence, this should be right up your alley. A friend told me they're pretty good live too. How about that? Tell my buddy Tom the proper name of the band and the release again one more time.
Yeah, the name of the band is Sick of Dying, and the name of the release is Scarcity.
All right, man. Thank you, Brian, for bringing in some stuff to talk about. Hopefully the listeners got a little bit out of that. Chatted up a lot of music. John, let me put you on the fly. John, what have you been listening to lately, man? What have you been jamming?
Honestly, a lot of shit that I've been listening to for the past 5 or so years, or if not longer.
Me too, man. I hear you, man. Like what? Give us something, man.
Canker from Nova Scotia. It was the Tar Brothers. They were a fucking unstoppable grindcore duo from Canada, and they each had different projects over the course of the years. They were absolutely fucking incredible. And just amazing.
Canker. Was one of them James Tar?
Yes, sir. James and Phil Tar.
And one of them passed away, if I'm not mistaken.
I'm not positive, but I think they actually both might have passed away at this point, but I don't know for sure.
Adam?
Yeah, I believe James passed away at the very least.
Yeah. But James was also in Submersed Cadaver and Elephant Man Behind the Sun.
Adam Rotella was in contact with those guys when they were very active, and he knows the story. I guess knows exactly what's going on with those guys. Rest in peace to their projects and to I guess James, and hopefully Phil's still with us, man. We got to catch up on that. Crazy you bring up the Tar Brothers, man. Canker, okay, man. Fair enough.
I think recommend to everybody go check them out. It's absolutely worth it. They were incredible.
Do you know if it's on Bandcamp or something, or maybe it's on YouTube?
I'm sure you could find some stuff on YouTube. I don't know about Bandcamp or anything else.
Let's go see, because maybe Tom could plug them in here a little bit. Let's see. Fair enough, man. So we learned a little bit more noise, a little bit class. That's a deep cut, man. The Tar Brothers. I got to get Adam on. Maybe just in honor of what they contributed, man. Just get Adam to kind of talk about everything he knows, because Adam would probably be able to list out all the projects and everything for you. He knows.
I'm sure.
I think he might have had a project or two with those guys collaborating somehow too. I think at least one. I got to ask him.
Yeah, and Rusty reissued the Elephant Man Behind the Sun material a couple of years ago. I think it was a double LP.
Yeah. What's funny, if I'm not mistaken, I think Zach mentioned that release actually, because the name stuck out to me. Yeah.
And our buddy Colton reissued the Submersed Cadaver discography, Reanimated Miscarriage.
Wow.
Yeah.
Okay, man. That's that. I love that we get this deep with, because when I with gore noise and stuff like that. Because when I started doing this podcast years ago, it was more of a death metal vehicle. And I loved, you guys know I love I'm in death metal bands and all that stuff. But I just love the fact that I can kind of keep that nitty gritty from the noise scene involved every few episodes, man. So I do appreciate you guys bringing up these bands. Good conversation for sure, man. And speaking of that, just one more time, I'm going to clonk people over the head with this. Barely Breathing Fest is August 15th and 16th at Mr. Beery's here in Long Island, New York. And the Needle Contaminated Pork Tour. In addition to Mr. Beery's, that project is also performing at the Meat Locker on the August the 12th. I got that one right, John?
Yes, sir.
And then what are the other two shows?
Philly on the 13th, and then Connecticut on the 14th, and then Barely Breathing on the 16th. So he's lucky enough to have a day off, because that man performs in a Tyvek suit. I don't know how the fuck he does it, because I have to wear that shit for work, and it's impossible.
It's going to be hot. It's going to be hot.
Oh, he's going to suffer heat stroke at least 3 out of 4 days.
John, are you cleaning crime scenes?
I mean, technically, yeah. I work with NYCHA. Anybody that lives in or around New York knows what that is. So, yeah.
Fair enough. All right, I just want to see about that, man. Do you want to elaborate, or should we move on?
Nah, it's boring. I do lead abatement work. Nothing exciting, but it's all New York City public housing.
All right. Wow.
If anybody that lives in NYCHA, complain. Get your shit up, because they don't care about you. Make them.
Yeah. You must see a lot of what the city does and doesn't do for people. It's interesting.
Yeah.
All right. All fitting into this noise conversation still, guys. We're still well in the pocket of noise and all things underground noise scene related. All right, well, moving on, man. I appreciate you guys joining me today for this episode. I appreciate Zach Fogle's time and his stories, compelling, interesting stories about his experience growing up in the noise scene, getting into the noise and the grindcore and all that stuff, while also, I guess, coming from that more conservative background, and then obviously some of the lengths he went to for his art. That photo shoot in particular, man. I do appreciate him sharing that. Appreciate your guys' recommendations. Heavyholepodcast at gmail.com, or the phone number in the description wherever you're listening to this. If you'd like to weigh in on anything we've discussed or recommend your own things, let us know. We may play your voicemail. I may read your email. Besides that, we are on Patreon with a couple of the old bonus clips, things like that. I really appreciate you guys for the support. The money goes right back into this podcast and into the production and the equipment and various things like that. Besides that, I don't think we've ever paid for a guest. We might do that one day if it's somebody like really, it would have to be like funny, but also a good interview. It would have to be like super ironic and funny, but I don't know, man. Like, I don't want to speculate, but like, if we could get like Rick Astley in here or something, I don't know. We'll see what happens. But, yeah, besides that, man, one more thing that we talked about before we close up. Brian, you got, unfortunately, I think July 18th is going to come and go before this episode is able to get out there. But that's a show with Jacked Chicks. That's a new band from Long Island, and you're working with them in terms of Baby Chico Records, no?
Yes, sir. Yeah, it's my good buddy, John Guzman. He was in Restless Spirit. He was in the vocalist for Rule Them All, was in The Fight momentarily, I believe. Yeah, it's his new kind of punkier leaning band. I describe it as like the Ramones with like a little bit of that legendary like Long Island melodic hardcore sound thrown into it. If you're into guys like Peg Boy or more recently Dark Thoughts and TV Repairman, then you're gonna love these guys. There's no breakdowns, there's no really mosh parts. It's just a lot of like pogoing and having fun.
All right, Long Island style. Long Island always had that element. Anything else going on with the label you want to talk about?
Oh god, a whole lot of stuff in perpetuity, as is life as a DIY grindcore label. A lot of stuff like, yeah, we should do this, and then 2 years later, it's not done. But stuff that is confirmed coming up, the Jack Chicks tape. Speaking of noise releases with absurd packaging, Negligible Wound, who is Ava from Shamehole. I did a tape with them, kind of free improv noisecore stuff. I'm doing a co-release with Cleaner Tapes out of Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania. It's Ava doing like free improv baritone saxophone over a bunch of noise stuff. The project is alligator themed. So she came up to me with this idea. I cannot take the credit for it, but she knew I would put it out immediately. The A side on every tape is the same for everything. The B side is a live performance of the other song of the kind of single, I guess you would put it. But there's a stuffed alligator that she performs with when she performs that song live. And she kind of hooks up a bunch of contact mics to power tools and just destroys this stuffed alligator. So what we did was we got 15 of these stuffed alligators made, and she did 15 separate live performances. And the B-side version of that song is that exact performance that's paired with the exact alligator that was used in that live performance. And then we put it inside the alligator and sew it back up, and it comes with a razor blade. And that's how you got to get the animal out. Not the animal, the tape out.
You know, this was nice and wholesome, cute. Then you said razor blade. Then you got thrown.
Oh, yeah.
These noise guys. Listen, I like that you're getting crafty. I like everything about it. I don't know if I would go that route with Afterbirth or Reeking Aura, but this noise stuff fascinates me. I like that you guys are doing it. It's great, man.
It's fun. It ties into the whole performance art aspect of it.
Yeah, it's interesting to me. It's very interesting. All right, and that was I'm sorry. What was the name of that project?
Negligible Wound.
Negligible Wound. Okay. And anything else with Baby Chico Records, or Mum's the word?
I'm hoping to have stuff. So I'm doing a drop in August around the same time as Barely Breathing. So tying into Barely Breathing, I'm hoping to have new releases from Fermented Mess, from Bacteria, putting their demo out whenever that gets done. Hopefully that gets done in time for this. 8 is going to be doing a split with the Mighty Agathocles.
Wow.
So I'm hoping to have that ready in time for this. Not really new music, but I found a couple GIMP tapes while I was unboxing all my stuff, moving into my new place. So I figured I'll just give those to the GIMP guys to sell at the show. So if you missed out on the GIMP tapes, which they sold out pretty quick, come to the show and grab one from them. And then Viodre, I was supposed to do something with him in time for Barely Breathing. I don't think that's going to happen, but that's most likely coming at the end of the year. Myself and John are hopefully going to be putting out a new Anal Birth release on 7-inch.
Allegedly.
Allegedly.
I got to talk to the head office about that. I don't know. Let's see what happens.
Yeah. Exactly. Yeah. So hopefully it'll be ready in time for like a fall winter drop. And then outside from that, let me consult the old note stock of stuff that's coming up. Releases from Nyctophagia, which they headlined the fest last year. Hallucination Realized. Good old Rochester noise grind guys.
Hell yeah. Barely Breathing alumni.
Absolutely. And then I am throwing together a benefit compilation with myself and Shitgazer to raise funds for a family in Palestine that she has become friendly with. And I'm hoping to have that in time by the end of the month. And 100% of the money is going to go directly to them. If that seems like something you'd be into, just follow myself and Shitgazer on Instagram, and we're gonna share more info on that.
Okay. All right, man. A lot going on with Baby Chico Records. John, is there anything with Syrup Head that you want to talk about? Any upcoming releases or anything like that?
Yeah, I mean, aside from shows, I'm finally getting back to making tapes and shit again. So we have a new Living Wall release coming out, the Said and Done demo tape, a split with Oklahoma Rider Truck and Orangu Pan Dog, the Reeking Pieces demo, and then eventually a couple of lathes and CDs that I want to work on. But I got to get back into the swing of things first.
Well, we wish you the best of luck with that, man. You know, like I said, we did a whole episode with you years ago where you discussed a lot of your history and you know, coming up in the scene and getting into making tapes and things like that, man. If people want to go back and check that out. Thanks again to Zach Fogle this evening for the conversation. Be sure to check out Morgtar and Female Autoerotic Asphyxiation at the Fest. Those are his projects that are performing at Barely Breathing 4. This August 15th and 16th at Mr. Beery's. Guys, thanks a lot for your time. Any parting words for, you know, your supporters and network of people and, you know, people that buy stuff from the labels and all that who are listening?
Come on to Barely Breathing. You'll have fun. If you buy stuff from me, what's wrong with you? Why are you doing that? Get your head checked out. No, I appreciate it. It is funny. Like this past drop, I've noticed a lot of repeat people getting stuff. When I was on tour with Failure, a lot of people came up to me and they're saying, "Oh, I've been buying stuff from you for a while," and it was really cool to be like, "Oh, okay, what's your name?" And they'll be like, "Oh, my name's like Joey." I'm like, "Okay, your name's Joey. You're in Virginia. Oh, are you Joey so and so?" Yeah, and like it's a really cool feeling to have people supporting the shit that I'm doing. It's a weird feeling. I feel like it's not deserved. I definitely struggle with that sometimes, but I appreciate it nonetheless. So thank you.
Imposter syndrome, man. You gotta get rid of that, man. You're doing a good thing for the people that like the noise stuff, man. If people like what you're doing, they like what you're doing, man. That's all it is, man. And I know you're doing it from the heart for sure, man. John, any parting words for supporters of your label and supporters of Barely Breathing?
I mean, shit, I've been doing it since 2010, so thanks to everybody who's always supported. But I agree with Brian that the fanfare of it seems unnecessary on our end. You know, like we ain't fucking nobody. But it's awesome to see the same people buying stuff or coming out to the shows year after year. That's the best part about keeping this bullshit going, is just hanging out with our friends and having a good time and just making all this matter. Also, listen to Philo Medusa. That's it.
There you go, man. Philo Medusa, man.
Yo, Philo, if you're listening, fucking play our fest. We've been asking you every year.
I was gonna say,
if anybody sees this man, please leave him alone, because I harass him yearly to play our show.
I was gonna say, I know you guys are behind the scenes on that one, man. I wasn't even gonna ask. Well, good luck hooking Philo Medusa for a show, man. I'm a fan of, man. I would love to interview Philo Medusa too, man. I don't know, man. We'll see what happens one day, maybe. Shout to Philo, but shout to Big Frog, right? That's Big Frog, right? That's what that dude calls himself.
Yes, sir.
Yeah, shout to Big Frog. I'm a fan. And I'm a fan of you guys and your labels, man, and your fest. You're just not. Oh, I fucked up. Now Reeking Oars kicked off. I called it a fest.
Yeah, too bad. You know what? You have to play a Buckshot set again.
Oh God, now that's a punishment. Listen, man, I bust balls about Sal and Buckshot a lot, but just to be clear for the listeners, I love those guys, and Buckshot Facelift is just on a little bit of a hiatus, man. We'll come back every once in a while for you, man. I do appreciate that at Barely Breathing. But yeah, looking forward to the function this year again, guys. Thanks for joining me. And yeah, it's, you know, you just on a note of what you said, man, how you know, we're nobody. I think sometimes people in the underground scene connect with when you're humble and when you don't have an air about yourself too, man. You know what I mean? Because it's like you said, it's about connecting with your friends, and most people are contributing something to the scene. You know, even if you're not in a band, you're probably doing something on the outside that's helping keep the nuts and bolts of this whole thing together. You know, like you mentioned, Shitgazer, doing a lot of the audio and, you know, doing a lot of the visual and video representation for a lot of these bands, things like that. So
Yeah, she's been amazing every year. She shot all of the Barely Breathing shows so far.
Yeah, well, that's all I'm saying is just that whole element of community and things that go with this, especially with this style of music, man. So, with that being said, man, thanks to you guys, thanks to Zach Fogle, and if you can't make it both days to the fest, then you still have the opportunity to catch one of his bands.